As the temperatures drop, let's talk about what you need to know about running in the cold. Hello, fellow geeks, and welcome back to Running Geek Girl. My name is Heather, and I am glad you are here today. Now, up here in the Northern Hemisphere, the weather is turning colder. We are getting towards the end of the year, and so a lot more of your runs may have to be done out in the cold and inclement weather. So, let's talk a little bit about what you need to know if you are new to running in colder temperatures. We'll start off by talking about some of the benefits of running in colder weather. First of all, it can be a big confidence boost. Sometimes just like going out and running in the rain, this gives you that little boost of confidence of you conquering nature. It's just kind of a good feeling. And running through the winter can provide accountability and structure during darker, colder months when most people tend to be a little less active. Plus, there is a growing body of research that shows that running can benefit your mental health, and fewer people tend to run in the winter. So, running paths and trails that you love midsummer could be entirely empty and ready for you right now. Plus, those of you who have signed up for races in the winter months before, you know that they don't really cancel for anything. Training and running through all seasons and all conditions help you prepare for if you wake up on race day and it happens to be snowing or cold, you'll already know what to do. So next, let's talk about how to get started getting used to running in cold weather. And a lot of it is going to be like starting to run just in general. So my number one tip is to start slowly. Start with a walk, build up to a jog. Don't worry about your distance or your pace. Second, give yourself an attainable goal. Maybe you can try to run for 10 or 15 minutes your first time out. And once you're feeling comfortable, work on staying out for 5 or 10 minutes past that. Just like running in the heat, it takes a little while for your body to acclimate to running in a different temperature. So be patient with yourself and extend it as you see fit. Third, check the weather out before you go. You don't want your first winter run to be out in the middle of a blizzard or an ice storm. And even for those of you who are more experienced in running in cold weathers, even those conditions can be a little bit tricky. So look at the weather forecast and find a day that has moderate temps and no storms that are coming through. Next, you need to make a plan. Make sure that you know where you're going, how long you'll be out, and just like if you're running in the dark, let a friend or family member know where you're headed and when you expect you're going to be back. So whether you're running a loop around your neighborhood or you're going to drive to a trail, check your conditions beforehand and adjust the way that you need to. If running in ankle-deep snow is not for you, then maybe you need to find a different location. If it's slick and icy outside, you may need to wait until the sun comes out a bit in order to warm up the sidewalks. And most importantly, don't head out into any kind of weather condition that makes you feel unsafe. Next, choose the time of your run wisely. Winter has fewer daylight hours, so if you're used to running at 6 in the morning, remember that in the winter it's probably going to be dark that time of day. So make sure that you either invest in a good headlamp or adjust the time of your run to when you will be running mostly in the light. The same goes for running at night. Since it gets darker earlier in the evening, if you're planning on running after work, then plan on bringing reflective gear and a headlamp for safety. And finally, hold yourself accountable. It is really easy to bail from a run if the weather isn't absolutely the best. So maybe make plans to run with a friend, whether virtually or in person, or you could join a running group so that you have lots of people that you can run with, or you can use an app to track your workouts and share it with a friend. So you've chosen a good time and place to run outdoors. Let's talk about what you need to wear if you're running in colder weather. Now, unlike warm weather running, winter jogging kind of takes a little bit more thought about what to wear. You don't want to overheat because you're wearing too many layers, but you don't want to freeze to death because you're not wearing enough layers. So you have to think through your layers. You can always take a layer off if you get too hot, but you can't add a layer that you don't have if it's at home. One of the general rules that you need to think of is to dress for conditions about 15 to 20 degrees warmer than what the temperature actually is, because your body temperature is going to rise the more that you get moving. So yes, you will start out feeling cold, but a lot of that cold is going to go away. So let's think through the layers that you'll need to wear. First of all, start with a warm base layer. Something like a technical base layer, most likely something long sleeve, depending on the outside temperature. Some people opt to go for wool. It's a good winter base layer because it keeps you warm even if it's wet. Also, if you use a technical blend like a polyester or nylon blend, that wicks moisture away from your skin and helps you stay dry and therefore help you to stay warmer. You're definitely going to want to avoid anything with cotton in it because if it gets soaked with precipitation or with your own sweat, it's not going to dry quickly, and that could make you you a lot more colder than you need to be. Also, if you're not into wearing gloves, then you might want to wear some of the longer sleeves that have the thumb holes to give your hands a little bit of protection. Next, let's take a look at your pants. Typically, you'll want to run in long leggings or running pants if it's cold. Tighter clothing like leggings helps you avoid chafing, which is great if you're going to be out in wet weather. Next up, a running jacket. You may want to wear a lightweight running shell, something that's slim, breathable, built for high output activities, something that will cut the wind. Waterproofing is a little less important since water-resistant fabrics are not quite as breathable, which means you could overheat a little more easily. You may also want to consider packability because a lot of running jackets can fold down really small and stick into a pocket, vest, or backpack if you need to take it off. For your shoes, you can most likely just use the same shoes that you've been using all year. Just make sure that your shoes aren't worn out and they're in good shape to carry you through your long runs. If you're running on snow or ice, then you may want to consider some sort of a traction device like a yak track. I'll have a link down below if you would like to check some yak tracks out for yourself. Here's a picture of what they look like, and they offer extra traction for if you are running in snow or ice to try and cut down on the amount of slipping that you're doing. Next are your socks. If you run with short ankle socks in the summer, you may want something thicker and higher in the winter. You'll be surprised how much covering your ankles actually keeps you warmer. Or if you're really wanting some extra coverage, you could go with a knee-high sock to give some coverage on your legs. A lot of people will again opt for a wool instead of a cotton, which can get wet and possibly cause blisters. And finally, there are your winter accessories, something like a warm hat, a headband, lightweight gloves. I usually run with a neck gaiter in order to keep my neck warm. Your hat and gloves are easy layers to take off. If you start to overheat, just make sure that you have a pocket you can stick them into. Or if you tend to really struggle with having cold hands, you can always go with hand warmers that are cheap and affordable, and you can find those at most department stores. Or you may even want to opt for self-heating gloves. Next up, let's talk about some extras that you may want to have with you on a winter run. First of all, it's going to be lights and reflective gear. If you're running early in the morning or at the end of the day, remember bright colors, reflective gear, a headlamp so others can spot you and you can see what's ahead of you. Second is sun protection. This is not something you would typically think about in cold weather, but it is something that is still important. You'll need to bring sunglasses or a hat in order to block the sun because most of the time the skies are going to be clear during the winter. And as usual, remember your sunscreen. You need it just as much in the winter as you do in the summer. And finally, hydration. Now, you may not feel thirsty when you're running in the cold, and so you may not think that you need to hydrate, especially on a long run. But you may want to make sure that you have a handheld water bottle or a hydration pack for any workout that is going to be 45 minutes or longer. Also, if you're carrying a backpack with a hydration tube, keep in mind that some of those tubes can freeze in cold weather, so maybe consider a different system of hydration or think about getting an insulated hydration tube in order to keep the water flowing easily. And finally, let's talk a little bit about what to do before, during, and after a cold weather run. Starting with before your run, you're going to definitely want to warm up. You have to warm up your body before launching straight into a run. So look at some dynamic movements. Windmill your arms, do jumping jacks, do squats, anything that's going to get your blood flowing and get your joints loosened up because they can feel a little bit stiffer in the cold. When you start running, make sure to do about a 5 or 10 minute warm up, a brisk walk or a slow jog, and then move into a conversational pace. You should be able to breathe and talk comfortably while running. Second, what to expect during your cold weather run. Now, your first few winter runs may be a little bit slower than you're used to because, again, your body needs to acclimate to the weather. So don't plan on setting any PRs or logging the most miles ever on your first few outings. As always, you just want to focus on having good form, shoulders relaxed, arms swinging forward and not sideways, planting your feet steadily, keep your chest upright, not hunched over. Your lungs may feel a little bit tight if it's really cold out. All you have to do is slow your pace, return to a walk, or just take shorter strides until your breathing returns to normal. Also, pay attention to where you're stepping. Avoid slippery ice or snow. Be mindful of puddles because you don't want to get your shoes all soaked. If your hands get cold easily, you might try curling them into a ball inside your gloves, sticking them in your armpits during a break, or moving your shoulders up and down to get movement into your fingers. And just remember while you're running that your body is not going to register thirst like it does during the heat, so make sure that you're hydrating and fueling your body if you're going on a run longer than 45 minutes. And now what to do after your run. Now, your body should be warmed up at the end of your run, but you may feel cold just due to the weather, so consider doing a cool down, a slow jog or walk to bring your heart rate back down to normal. If you're ending the run at your house, try to get out of any damp clothing right away. And if you're returning to your car or somewhere else after your run, consider bringing a change of clothes to swap into so you're not trying to drive home in a wet shirt and a sweaty hat. Again, remember to hydrate. A nice warm tea or a cup of coffee can be great afterwards, as well as plenty of water, and make sure to do a little bit of light stretching. So those are some tips for running in cold weather. Just remember to keep your goals simple. Keep things in perspective during the winter. Most people are not going to make huge gains during the winter. Running in the winter is going to be more about maintaining your lifestyle and maintaining consistency than it is about setting a PR or running a longer distance than normal. Just be realistic, because any run is a good run. It's great exercise, and not every run, especially in extreme weather, is going to be life-changing. Be kind to yourself, be kind to others, and keep everyone around you safe. So what other tips do you have for running in colder weather? Why don't you let me know down in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. It doesn't cost you a thing, and it keeps you up to date on all the running information I have coming out all the time. You could also give this video a big thumbs up. Both of those get me out to more runners just like you. Don't forget to follow me on social media. All the links are down in the description. You can find me across all platforms under the name Running Geek Girl. Thanks so much for joining me today. I'm so glad you could be here. Remember to laugh hard, run fast, and be kind. I will see you later.